Hello and welcome back to the channel. This week's a little different in that it's going to be centered around debt confessions. I will take a look at some of the bills that were paid automatically through the Qube app this week and update on those. But by and large, I'd like to talk about my debt, and I'm also going to calculate compounded interest just to show how easy it is to do in Excel. And I know you can do it using calculators, and there are financial calculators out there, but I think the easiest way to calculate this sort of thing is through Excel. So we'll go through that a little later in the video. But I received some mail this week that I have been anticipating. Little backstory: a couple years ago, I guess it's 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and fortunately, they were able to spot it very quickly, and the doctors were able to surgically remove the tumor that was in my colon, and since then I've had several scans and blood tests, and there have been no recurrences of cancer. So still I am cancer free. Praise God. The flip side of that is every time I go in for a scan, it costs a lot of money. And I work, as you know, in the hospitality industry, and I do not receive health insurance through my company. I go to the marketplace and pick a health insurance for the year based on what they have available. So I am paying a lot more when I go in for visits, when I go in for CT scans, and I've had several conversations over the last couple of years with people from the hospital and trying to figure out what the best way to finance these things would be. So, in keeping with the theme of my channel, every time I think about my health insurance and my health bills, these are times when I take some quiet time and seek the Lord and ask Him for the wisdom to show me the right path to take. Sometimes it doesn't feel like there is a right path, but I found each time I do this, where I come to the Lord first, the fog clears a little bit, and I'm given some kind of straightforward way to move forward. And I believe that's just because I have taken the time to seek the Lord in these things. Because in my past, I have gone in full force and overpromised, and then got in trouble for not having enough money to make payments and things like that. So I strive to live differently now than I did then. I've been paying off my last CT scan for a while. I was able to give a pretty good chunk at the beginning of when that CT scan came due. And so I financed the rest through the hospital at a zero interest loan. And that I've been working on paying off for quite a while now, and the balance has come down to $843.75. Now, when I was getting ready for this CT scan that I just had, I talked with the finance department at the hospital, and from what I understood from our conversation, it was a little confusing, so I wasn't 100% sure, but it sounded like if my balance was going to be over $3,000, that I could qualify for the 3-year plan at 0%, but if it was under $3,000, then I would be at the 2-year plan at 0%. So that makes a difference on how much per month that I want to get paid, or that I want to take out of my check in order to pay these bills, right? Now, I've been waiting. I got the first 2 bills for the associated doctor visits, and it came to a little over $300. And then I got the third one finally just now, and that did come to about $2,400, a little over $2,400. If you add all three, it's $2,800, right? So it's not enough by itself to be at that $3,000 threshold, but I thought, well, it's worth a phone call. And again, took time to pray and to quiet my heart and just, think through some options. And so I was able, when I got on the phone, I was able to say, okay, well, what about this? And what about this? And would I qualify if this? And I was able to just kind of calmly go through all these different scenarios. In my mind, the best scenario would be to pay $100 a month for 3 years and then let that be enough to take care of the bill. However, the $843.75 is its own loan and cannot be incorporated into the rest of it. So, I am so grateful that over the last few years I've learned from other YouTubers and just from having those still quiet moments with God, that I've been able to put money away and have buffers for different things. And so I have this buffer that's been sitting around as just unallocated funds so that I have an entire paycheck set aside before my paycheck ever comes. It's not necessary, but it was nice to have a couple days before the paycheck got here so that I could start moving money over early. And so I decided to use that money to pay off my $843.75. And then what was left with my new bill was $2,808.19. So I paid off $408.19 to make the new balance $2,400. And if you take that divided by 24 months, I'm paying $100 a month from this point on. Now I don't have an unallocated funds buffer, but I've got an extra $300 in savings as a buffer. I always have a $100 rollover in my checking as a buffer. And if I look at the balance of my Qube Money, I still have a couple $1,000s. It's just sitting in different categories. When I started this journey with Qube Money specifically, I had zero buffer and no balances in any envelopes, period. And here I am at a point where I was able to, pay over $1,000, $1,100, just because it made more sense to do that. And still, I've got a couple extra grand. So I'm really excited about these different processes that I do in order to put the money aside. The fact that I'm only putting so much aside into spending categories, which makes me think that that's all the money I have to work with, when in reality, all this other money is working in these different savings envelopes and the different annual things that I have to pay annually. I don't have to worry about them annually because the money is stacking up over there. And these are things that used to surprise me. And this has been a really wonderful journey. So I just wanted to kind of put out there where I am now, and then let's go and take a look at some of the bills that I'm paying right now, and then I'd like to take a look at the compounded interest and how I calculate that out in Excel. So I hope you enjoyed this video.
Okay, first you see that I'm using the June calendar to figure out which bills were due, and then I looked into my Qube app to see whether they were actually paid or not. And so I went into Qube and I looked for the first one for State Farm. And once I found that, I was able to see the dollar amount that was taken out, which matched my list, and the dollar amount that the balance should be at the end, the $37.74. So taking my calculator, I just took the beginning balance, added the funded amount, and then I took out the payment, $88.63, and that matches the $37.74. And I just did the same thing next with the Discover card. The beginning balance was $73.92. I added $55.38 during this period, and the payment was taken out for $120, which gives me the end balance of $930. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about compounded interest. This is something that is really important to understand if you want to take a loan out or to see how your money's growing in a savings account. So here I put together a scenario that I have a present value. So as of right now, today, this loan or whatever it is has a beginning balance of $1,000. So let's just say that I went to the bank and I got a loan for $1,000. And they gave me 12 months to pay this loan. And they said it'll be a 15% annual APR, annual percentage rate. And then the payment will be based on those two things. The beginning balance is the amount that I know from the very beginning. And then the interest, if you're using Excel to figure out the formulas for your loan and your rate and what the payment's going to be and everything. So the interest that it wants to use is what's called the rate, and that's going to be taking your annual rate divided by 12 if you're doing monthly payments. And then the other one is the N per, and that's the number of payments. So in our first example, it was 12 payments. So 12 is the N per, and there's 12 payments for the year. And so you're taking the annual rate divided by 12 to come up with the actual rate that Excel wants to use. And then you're able to use those numbers in order to make a formula. And that formula is accessible right in Excel. And you can decide how many payments you want to be. So like if you wanted to get this paid off in 10 months instead of 12 months, you can change that and see like what would the payment have to be. And then it'll show you that payment if you just plug those numbers in. Now, I made these schedules, these charts that show every single payment, but you don't have to do that. You can actually just use this formula. And if you're not a person who really wants to use formulas, there are business calculators online. And there are some really good tutorials that are free from Khan Academy. And I hope to bring up some more interesting resources in the future, different kinds of worksheets and whatnot that are available for free online or for a very small fee. If you've made it this far through the video, thank you so much for watching. If this is the type of content that you like and appreciate seeing online, please give a like and comment below. If you would like to see further videos of this type, consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification button so you won't miss further videos. This channel's theme is for Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." Thanks for watching, and God bless.